Hello, it's Miss Beatty here, and today we are continuing to focus on our topic of measure, and we are still looking at estimating and measuring today, and it's a follow-on from yesterday's video. We are still learning to measure and estimate the length, width, and height of an object using centimeters and millimeters. So remembering those two units of measurement, okay? Remember that estimating, when you're asked to estimate the length of something or the height or the width, you're just being asked to make a judgment or a guess. You're being asked to make an approximate calculation about something. So we know that a ruler is 30 centimeters long. Can you estimate how long that pencil might be? And because we already know what a ruler, the length of a ruler is, then it's much easier to maybe make a more accurate estimate. Okay, sometimes people call it a guesstimate because it's the same as trying to guess. And then you would test your answers after that by actually measuring the object that you were estimating before. So I hope that makes sense. We do need to remember that there are 10 millimeters in 1 centimeter, and there is 1 centimeter for every 10 millimeters. So when you see it written like this, it just means that they're the same. 10 millimeters is equal to 1 centimeter. And if we look at this example here, where my little pen is pointing to, we've got 0 on our ruler. This is 0 0.1, 0 0.2, 0 0.3, 0 0.4, 0 0.5, which we know is a half if you think back to our fractions, decimals, and percentages topic, all the way up to 0 0.9, which is here. And rather than writing 0 0.10, we just write it as 1 because it is one whole. So we know from 0 to get to 1, these little lines indicate 10 millimeters. So 10 millimeters is equal to 1 centimeter. When you were asked to convert something from centimeters into millimeters, being asked to convert measurements is just the same as saying, can you change this measurement into a different measurement? So to change centimeters into millimeters, you need to remember to multiply your measurement that is in millimeters by 10. So we're using our 10 times table. So for example, if I have 7 centimeters and I would like to change it back into or convert it back into millimeters, I need to do 7 times 10. I can use my 10 times table or my 7 times table, and I know that 7 times 10 is 70. So 7 centimeters is equal to 70 millimeters. Or if you're timesing any number by 10, you're just adding a 0. If it is a whole number, you just need to add a 0. So if that was 60 centimeters, I do 60 times 10, I can just add a 0 onto the end, and it becomes 600 millimeters. So 60 centimeters is equal to 600 millimeters. Okay. Where it gets a little bit tricky is if you have a decimal number, which we know is part of the number. So if we have 7, let's go with 7.5. 7.5 centimeters, and I want to convert this into millimeters, I need to multiply 7.5 by 10. Now there are no zeros, or no zeros to add, so I'm a little bit confused, but actually what you do is you look at the decimal point and you move it forward to the right one place, so it ends up here, which is the same as saying 75.0, but you don't need to write it like that. You can just write it as 75 millimeters like this. So 7.5 centimeters becomes 75 millimeters because all I've done is I've moved the decimal point to the right one place because I've multiplied by 10. Okay, we'll do one more example with a decimal number just so that you understand it. If I had 62.33 and that was in centimeters, okay, and I want to change this measurement into millimeters, so my answer is going to be in millimeters. Again, I'm just multiplying by 10, so I need to move that decimal point to the right by one space or one jump, so the point ends up here. So the answer becomes 623, 623.3 millimeters because I have moved my decimal point one space to the right. So that's what you do if you come across a measurement that is in a decimal number. Okay, I hope that makes sense. You're also being asked to convert millimeters into centimeters. So making a number that's in millimeters, which is smaller, into centimeters to make it bigger. And to do that, you do the opposite. You divide your measurement in millimeters by 10. Okay, so you're dividing by 10. And we've looked at this before, okay, when we were doing our fractions, decimals, and percentages topic. So for example, if I had 20 millimeters and I want to change my answer into centimeters, I need to divide 20 by 10. So again, I'm still using my 10 times table. If the number has a 0 in it, I can just knock the 0 off. So it becomes 2 centimeters. Okay? 2 centimeters. I hope that makes sense. And if I had, for example, let's say 200 millimeters, and I wanted to divide this by 10 to get my answer in centimeters, okay, again, I just take one of the zeros off or ask myself how many 10s go into 200. If I knock a 0 off, I know that the answer is going to be 20 centimeters. Or I know that 20 times 10 is 200, so I'm definitely correct. So if the number has a 0, you can just take the 0 off. If the number doesn't have a 0, say for example, you've got 77 millimeters. Yeah, 77 millimeters. And you want to know what that is in centimeters. So you need to divide 77 by 10. So dividing it by 10. What you need to do is you need to move your decimal point, this invisible decimal point that's here, you need to move that back to the left by 1 space. So watch what my little pen does. Moves the decimal point back by 1 space to the left. So my answer in centimeters becomes 7.7 centimeters. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So I would write it as 7.7 centimeters. I'll do one more example because it can be a little bit confusing. What happens if I had, what happens if I had a decimal number? What happens if I had 67.3 millimeters and I wanted to change that into centimeters? Well, you just follow the exact same rule. You're still dividing by 10. Okay, you just need to remember that your answer is going to be in centimeters. The decimal point needs to move back 1 space to the left, so it needs to jump all the way back to here, and that's where it ends up. So the answer becomes 6.73 centimeters. Okay, so you just need to remember that when you're converting centimeters, okay, remember centimeters into millimeters, we're multiplying by 10. And if we're converting millimeters back into centimeters, we are dividing by 10. Now, these questions or examples will come up in your little activity tasks. So have a go, try your best, use this video to help you. Remember, you can pause it or rewind it back to any parts that you weren't too sure of to get a better understanding, and ask for help on Teams if you need it. Remember to email us your work, post it in your file, or post it on the main channel for myself and Miss Mallacy to look at. Okay? I hope this video helps. And remember, just try your best.